Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in for another Little Fit video. I'm Little Fit Kendall. Today we are going to be talking about keto versus low carb. Low carb is not the same thing as ketosis, but keto is low carb. These diets became insanely popular in the last few years, and honestly, for good reason for one of them. Today we are going to be talking about the differences between these two diets, whether they are even all that good for you, and if they are, which one is going to be better for you and which one might be hurting you. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see whether or not either of these options is the one for you, or maybe it might be worth looking into a couple of other options. Here are a few things I'd like for you to keep in mind as we move through this video. First, I cannot stress this enough, not one program is going to be the program for everybody. Every body is different, and there's really nothing we can do to get around that. Some people will do well on keto, some people might do well on low carb, some people do well eating all of the carbs. And the truth is it all just depends on a whole bunch of factors. So I always recommend doing your research, try to find somebody that you trust online or a coach. I think ketosis is a super great option for people who have different medical histories. So for instance, people who have type 2 diabetes usually find great success in not just losing weight and feeling better and getting all those benefits, but actually reversing the symptoms of their type 2 diabetes. I've actually had clients no longer have to take metformin, which is very cool. I usually find that keto is typically best done with people who have different sorts of special interests other than just general weight loss. I think if you're looking for a healthy long-term solution for weight loss, there's other methods that you're able to use where you simply don't have to cut out as many foods, because as soon as you're in ketosis, you have to understand that you're cutting out 1/3 of the major macronutrients. If we only have 3, our protein, fats, and carbs, now we're only working with our proteins and fats. So obviously that's going to leave a lot of food out. That being said, ketogenic diets have been extensively studied and found to have benefits for individuals with cancer, as treatment for epilepsy, for autism, like I said, reversing type 2 diabetes. I think that keto is a super great option for some people. I think that it is being overused in the general population for weight loss, but really it does so much more than that. Another thing I want to mention is that, of course, both of these programs do require a pretty significant cut in carbs. So if you're looking for a program that lets you eat pretty much whatever you want in moderation, then this might not be the one for you. There's tons of great recipes and it is a very savory way to eat. However, you're not going to get those sweets. So if you are very much a sweet person and you don't want to give that up, then these might not be the options for you. Both of these protocols do recommend that you eat an adequate or normal amount of protein. I usually recommend aiming for about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. That's going to help us make sure that we're preserving our muscle and losing as much body fat as opposed to muscle as we can. And also, you can do both of these protocols entirely plant-based. I have had a couple vegetarian and vegan clients come through, and we've had great success doing ketosis. And I don't do low carb, but I know that both can be done without incorporating a whole bunch of fat and products that come from animals. There is no need to be filling yourself up with bacon, cheese, and butter just because you're doing ketosis. There are a million other options out there that are amazing for us and going to help us be healthier, as well as getting the aesthetic benefit that you might be looking for. The main difference between low carb and ketosis is going to be two things. We've got fats and ketones. So the thing is, in low carb, we are trying to eat less than 100 grams of carbs per day. And that's certainly enough to start losing a little bit of body fat, lose some of the water weight, lose some of the bloating, and maybe even improve your blood pressure. But it's not quite limiting those carbs enough to get yourself into ketosis. In order to get into ketosis, we need to spend a considerate amount of time consuming less than 50 grams of carbs per day. When we're able to drop those carbs to that level and stay with it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks minimum, you're going to start getting into ketosis. Now your body is starting to recognize that it's no longer going to be receiving carbs, which has been its familiar fuel source, and it starts to create ketones out of the fat that we're actually burning, which is very, very cool. It's really important to mention that I am talking about ketones that we actually make with our body by going into dietary ketosis. I am not talking about exogenous ketones or the kind that you can buy from a supplement store. Those do have uses, but more times than not, they are being marketed to the wrong people. They're being marketed as weight loss products and to get you into keto faster and stuff, but that's simply not the way it works. To get all of the incredible benefits of ketones, I highly recommend making them yourself just by really sticking to your keto diet. In about 1 to 2 weeks minimum, if you stick with it, then you're going to be getting into ketosis, or into keto as people like to call it. And what's happening now is that your body's recognizing that carbs are no longer going to be a reliable fuel source because you're not eating very many, and it's going to start to rely on the fat that you are eating as well as the ketones that your body is going to start creating. And ketones are one of the most dense fuel sources that our body can actually use. One of the things that I love the most about when I've been in ketosis for a few weeks is the symptoms of anxiety and depression and stress just being mitigated a little bit. I mean, less stress. Who is complaining about that? What I see a lot of is that people will be trying to get into ketosis, or they think they're in ketosis, but in reality, they actually have never crossed that threshold where they start making ketones. Instead, they've just cut down all their carbs, and let's say they have been having too many cheats, or they've been not eating enough fat. What'll happen is your body doesn't have a secondary fuel source at that point. If you're just lowering your carb intake and you're not actually giving yourself another fuel source to call on, then you are going to feel crappy. I would not say that low carb is the way to go for most people. I think that keto is also not the way to go for everybody. Both of these diets have been leaned on very, very heavily by the general public because low carb, I think it kind of gets the job done in terms of weight loss, but I've been looking at some studies and it does look like most of the time it's going to be a little bit of body fat, but often you're losing a lot of muscle mass and a ton of water weight, which happens anytime we cut carbs, including in ketosis. With ketosis, you are going to lose the weight. It does tend to be more body fat than muscle mass, which is wonderful because our muscle mass helps us drive our metabolism. The more muscle that we have, the easier it's going to be for us to burn fat and feel good even when we're just at rest. Let's talk a little bit more about ketones. Most times when I see people doing a low-carb diet, they think that they're in ketosis, but they're not actually getting any of the benefits. They're just feeling super crappy. And I just want to be the first person to say, but probably not the first person, let's all just say it together. You should not have to suffer in order to feel good. You should not have to cut out all of your favorite things and do all of the workouts all the time in order to lose weight. Keto, yes, it's very restrictive, as is low carb, of course, but the thing is that once we stop messing around in that low carb area and commit to being in ketosis, which means that we have to take out those little cheats that are pulling us out of ketosis once a week, we're going to start noticing things like a better mental clarity, better strength. Our muscle is going to start getting preserved more. We're going to have less cravings, which is a really big one. We're going to look at a donut or chocolate or smell French fries and not want them. And it's very cool when we look at the science behind why this is happening. So why are all these positive things happening in our body with ketosis and not in low carb? In low carb, we simply don't have the ketones in our body, so none of these things happen because all of these things are brought on by the ketones. And our body does make 3 different kinds of ketones, but I'm only going to be talking about the main one right now. If you do want a deeper dive into keto, make sure you click this video right there. I will be posting it pretty soon here, all about the ins and outs of ketosis, because I think it's a bit of an overused and it is an overused and understood. It is a very overused but misunderstood program. So I would love to see it used properly. The ketone that I am very excited to talk about is called beta hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. BHB is a very, very cool thing because it not only gives us energy, it not only gives us mental clarity, but it actually works as a muscle preserver as well. It protects our muscles from being broken down because initially when we're trying to lose weight, a lot of the time the weight we lose is actually from our body eating itself and not eating the body fat, which obviously we want, but eating our muscle. If you're trying to avoid a flat butt, if you're trying to avoid having that skinny fat look where, you know, you're getting smaller but you're not actually looking any healthier or any fitter, then you're going to want to make sure that you're preserving those muscles. Muscles are good. And I really can't stress this enough, you guys. I'm talking about the BHB that we make. It's not going to benefit you the same way if you buy your ketones. Ultimately, for most people who are doing low carb, I recommend trying very hard to restrict those carbs just a couple grams more to get yourself into that state of ketosis so that you can start experiencing some of the actual benefits to this program. Low carb will give you some of the things like weight loss, but it won't give you necessarily the kind of weight loss that you want, whereas ketosis will give you weight loss, but it'll be more body fat and less muscle, and you're going to get all of the mental, emotional, and physical benefits that go with it as well. When you're looking to do a program to lose weight and get healthy, the biggest thing that is going to make a difference for you will be your consistency. I highly recommend picking a program and really sticking to it. Try your hardest to find reliable resources that can help make the process a little bit easier. If you have questions, feel free to ask people who know what they're talking about, and I'm sure that they would be very happy to answer those questions for you guys. With that, I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Never miss a Monday, and I will check in with you guys in a new video next week.